This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Body Count, a history podcast where we gab about death and disaster through the ages, highlighting figure-sequel events, time periods, and culture, whatever it may be, that resulted in someone, or as is usually the case, a lot of someone's dying. This is the last time I'm going to say it officially, guys. I am doing away with the disclaimer because based on emails and reviews, none of you fucking read it anyway. So that's where we live at. In that case, if you're good with that, if you can deal with all that, I'm your host, Jessica Manor, and I'm joined today by my co-hosts. Introduce yourself, ladies.
Hey, Bethany Skeleton.
And Kara DiDemizio checking in.
I love your laugh.
I was going to say, I love her voice. I love how fucking tranquil she is, where we come in like, I don't know.
I come in like Bob Ross.
No.
You come in like fucking Bob Ross or Art Bell. Meanwhile, Bethany and I have literally thrown the gauntlet down in front of the city gates like we are fucking Rome, right? We are the 13th Legion. We're going to cross the Rubicon and be up in your shit, apparently. So how's everybody doing this week?
I mean,
well, fucking fantastic.
Fucking fantastic, too.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God. Yeah, both of you, stop giving me so much fucking positive energy as we go into this. I wrote this motherfucker in a day and pulled this research in a day. So just so everybody knows, it's going to be one of my shittier episodes. So we're all aware.
Oh,
That lie.
Really only hit the highlights.
Paper.
The gold toilet.
Yep, you shit out gold toilet paper, Jessica.
I shit out golden toilet paper, folks, because my storytelling abilities are bar none. I wish that was the fucking case. It's just the usual horse shit, guys, but I got really excited about this one, and unfortunately, because I wrote it in a day, it's all 110% in Jessica voice. It's very clear that I was very much not in the mood to write this shit. And I really come down hard on America, and I should and I shouldn't, as we're going to see when we get into our topic today. But as per usual, really quickly, we're going to get through housekeeping. Of course, you love the show. Go and check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. Kara has made me aware of what a link tree is, and we're going to do that. Preferably tomorrow. I'm really going to try to get on that.
Which means you can find Body Count at our link tree and click and find where you listen right away.
Well, that's fucking amazing, quite frankly, because I don't have the wherewithal. It's also, Kara taught me about tiny URLs, whatever the fuck that means, but I'm going to find out tomorrow with a cursory Google search.
Which means Jessica has entered 2008.
Officially.
2008 is better than 2000 late, bitches.
You're not wrong. At least you're late.
Tinder.
You arrived.
Tinder is not how one sets a fire in a Girl Scout sense. Like, I've learned that. That's not 2020 lingo.
Wait till you find out what Grindr is.
Yeah, you know what Grindr is, right, Jess?
Yes, I do, because I'm a fucking fruit fly, so at least I know what Grindr is. Yeah, it's sword fighting. It's sword fighting. Like, I would not know what Tinder was, but I do know what Grindr is, just because I've seen a number of penis photos on various gay men's Grindr accounts. Travis Prokop, I'm talking to you, sir.
Oh, called him out.
Called him out. It's all right. He doesn't listen to this, so that's great. So again, right and review us. If you listen to this podcast, it helps
And
us
you
out
like
on
it.
the business end. And you like it. Yeah, if you don't like it, like maybe don't.
Yeah.
Don't. I don't come to where you work and tell you your fucking Sonic drinks are shitty. Like, okay, don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. I don't come to where you are and tell you you've got subpar fucking service. If everybody wants to know, Kara just pulled out a Route 44 Sonic drink, which I fucking love that she just did that thing. But I'm also realizing I'm probably not drunk enough already for this episode, which I usually am by now. Let's be honest. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there.
Or lukewarm.
Yeah, I'm really gonna warm up. I feel like before I get into this fucking script swamp, as is usually the case, I'm gonna have to warm up. But I'm not going to talk about it right now. We've got a lot of things that are going to be coming down the pipe soon on Patreon. We are actually going to have time to write for this fucking show because we're going to take you on this 2021 guest tour of awesome, because apparently, if none of you knew it, Kara doubles as a booking agent. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, she should start working for goddamn bands. You should. It's fucking amazing.
I dig dark wave, and I would really dig to like. I've gotten both of y'all listening to some crazy ass shit from nowhere near us, and
like real weird shit. Like I'm listening to fucking everything from French, I don't know, house music to goddamn Icelandic whatever. And it's not like I'm listening to all like heavy metal Dimmu Borgir shit, which would be usually what I'm listening to, the weirdest shit in the world, but I'm here for it.
Yeah,
It fuels me writing this. I was like, oh yeah, beats, but I'm also Russian depressed. And it's really going to show itself in today's script, just so everyone knows.
The playlist.
The Russian.
The playlist you sent today, Kara, honestly, all I did was upcoming OTD research and
It's a jam.
Well, I was just like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm like, I'm a week in advance now, and I'm like,
it's perfect for on this day, right? Like dark wave, got that dark on this day shit.
Amen.
Which, by the way, Bethany, I really enjoyed that TWA United fucking OTD. If you guys don't follow it, definitely follow us on social media. We tell you where at the end of the show
how people die.
Yeah. But that one was like, that's my biggest fear, that plane parts are going to come crashing down on me at any given moment, Donnie Darko style. So I get real weird about it. Yeah, that's where we're at. You Donnie Darko'd me. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Kara, you should be old enough for that reference. Yeah, you are. You definitely are. Everybody had that weird friend that was like real into Frank the Bunny, I feel like.
I had apparently someone hack my Netflix and watch Donnie Darko on like the fucking Pete over and over again. Because every day for like a week, I was like, okay, did I share credentials with anyone? And every day, Donnie Darko would either be like at a different point in like the movie, and I'd be like, really? That's your go-to? Well, and then I changed my
right. That's a fucking scene once or twice in your lifetime, and it's really not a repeat fucking performance. It's like watching. It's like a person got on and watched Train Spotting 15 times. Like, it's really not that kind of movie.
Yeah, that's Requiem for a Dream is what, honestly, I own that movie, and I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times because I don't need anymore than that.
Soundtrack is great. Soundtrack is what it is, but I cannot watch that fucking ass shit. That's like owning Deliverance and watching it as a survival movie, quote unquote, multiple times. It's fucking disturbing there's only so much I can goddamn take. But it's also like, don't get me wrong, I love Fight Club. I think the movie's actually better than the book. Oh, controversial opinion. But it's not something I want to watch all the time. And by any means. But then again, I'm going to sleep to the fucking animated Robin Hood by Disney on my Disney Plus. So I'm maybe like that or What We Do in the Shadows, because I fucking love Matt Berry and I can't help myself and I just have to watch it. So it gets weird. Or Phone Shop, which is a lot of ow. Again, listeners, if you've never heard it, be about it. All right. So, guys, if 2020 highlighted anything, it highlighted the fact that we are Americans, shamelessly Americans. We spray our own bald eagles, the symbol of our own republic and freedom, with DDT, and
Killing it.
we kill it. Yeah, killing it shamelessly.
Not legal.
Which, not legally. No, don't want one mounted. By the way, I will say, if you ever try to get rid of a weird mounted eagle in an old home that you buy, it's more difficult than it seems. And this is a family fucking experience. I know it's a weird thing. Museums don't even want it because it's illegal. Sorry. It's a really weird side hole, but we're not going to go down it. The point is, we're killing it, which is the most American thing that has ever happened. Now, we're just so high fucking maintenance that no one else in the world wants to deal with us. Now, this is, in essence, why I love America. Simplest terms. We turned isolationism, or the art of saying, not my fucking problem,
But my money.
into being a, not my problem, but my money, into being a global creditor. That is, in fact, true, Kara, just because we don't want to deal with reality. What the rest of the world's doing, no, I'm going to put a blackout spot over that. It's not my fucking problem. And it's a uniquely American thing. We are, as a country, like basically Japan and Germany were like, we got this shit on lock. And as a country, we said, hold my beer. And that is the most American that one can ever possibly get. I mean, just like, that's what we do as a nation. You know what? Fine. You want to do Pearl Harbor? That's fucking cute. Hold my beer. Hold my beer. I've got 42 to 45 to like kick this shit off. Oh, lose $1 million in the mainland? No, we will forever change the ecosystem of a goddamn country because we don't want to fuck with you. Hold my beer. Hold my beer. So it is no small wonder that when it comes to maintaining a literal leader of the country, we phone it in. I mean, nobody's surprised by that. We're like, yeah, I mean, who really gives a fuck? It's the American way, we could argue, guys. We deal with it when we get there. When it comes up, when it's a thing, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It is what it is. Global warming to President of the United States of America. We say, again, hold my fucking beer. Let me answer the door. But in the meantime, pop in, heat up some of that Stouffer's, and go ahead and get the hot tub churning, right? And don't be a bitch. Load a pipe. Don't be lame.
Don't be lame.
It should be our national motto. Pop the fucking Stouffer's in, load the pipe, don't be motherfucking lame. So that takes us into our topic today. That's right, we're talking the death, or sometimes almost death, of a president. Ooh. From death to incapacitation in true American fashion, we have spent years literally phoning it the fuck in. Like, does it really matter? More importantly, if we view it through that lens in and of itself, we're talking about presidential succession, whether it be through death or incapacitation. We're getting very dark with it, but we're also going to have a lot of fun with it. Now, you wouldn't think establishing a chain of command would be that difficult when it came to governing this nation. And maybe that's just kind of like that old white man belief that, like, statistically we don't die, and at some point we're not ever going to die, and we're going to president all over everyone's faces, right?
And ever and ever.
Forever and ever. I'm not going to die. Other people die. I'm old and white and fucking important, so I'm not going to die.
I'm a superhero. I'm a president now.
I'm a president. I am president of the United States. Before that even meant anything, it was a thing that we still did. And you could argue, despite the number of executive orders, if you will, throughout history, that maybe the office was supposed to be that insignificant. But that is neither here nor there, because it is not. It is the leader now of the world, as it will. Oil is literally traded in USD, and tomorrow, if the president dies, we're going to have a mad dash fucking bullshit scramble in Washington going, wait a minute, guys. This is motherfucking president now. And it's sad that that is the way that we deal with shit. The point is, while many a republic, like, irons in the fire, this is not our first issue that we need to address, unfortunately, but America got around to it dead fucking last. And to be fair, we had so much like early bitch fighting to get through from the get-go, you know, to be agrarian or not to be agrarian. That is the fucking question. We seem to kind of write the issue off altogether of what happens to a president if they die or are incapacitated in office, which is just beyond me. It still fucking baffles my mind. The point is that despite being relatively with it post 1870, one could argue it took the United States of America almost 200 years to really work out the succession process. You can argue that we still aren't like that fucking great at it, right? I read so many questions when President Orange Hair got COVID. Everybody on Twitter asking what happens, like if making a murderer Pence gets it too, what are we gonna do? Like, how does this work? And you know, as we are kind of taking it easy for the next 2 weeks going into Christmas, again, guys, we're going to be coming back at you with Nancy Wake after Christmas. 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many like parts it's going to take at this point. I thought, let's talk presidential death and succession. Now, that being said, no, it's a whole lot of bullshit to get into, and I'm really excited because I know Bethany. What? Go ahead. Y'all interrupt me.
I just cannot wait. It's the anticipation.
Okay.
Wait, you were saying?
It's the anticipation.
What were you saying about me? What am I?
I know for a fact, and I love you to death, but you don't know how this is all going to work out, right?
I mean,
she does know about one president. She's wearing him on a shirt.
George.
That's true.
Washington. That's what my.
Thankfully, that fucker resigned, or not. Well, he didn't resign. He stepped down after 2 terms, and you know what that meant? A nice little succession. And that's something that would have been nice if FDR had kept in mind. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but he was wheeling for victory. Like, one could say he was marching for dimes.
No, that's too far, ma'am.
Not the worst thing I've ever said on this fucking podcast. Not even close to it. Well, at least he wasn't goose stepping his way into history. You gotta give him that, right? So it's not until the 25th Amendment to the Constitution that we
When
kind
did
of
that come out?
iron.
1967.
Right.
Come on now.
It's not until then that we even get close to ironing this shit out, hardcore parkour style. And again, like Hera said, it's not past till 67 while Johnson's literally holding his huge Johnson in his hand, pissing in the goddamn Rose Garden after Kennedy's brains have been misted all over Dealey Plaza. And that
4
we
years
say,
before. Yeah.
Is that right?
that we say, you know what? We ought to do something about this.
Wait, did that really happen? Or are you just picking that up?
Well, he did like to take his Johnson out. I will say that. LBJ had it.
Like, he has a notoriously huge cock and used to piss a lot on the White House lawn.
He also liked to like take nude dips in the White House pool.
I mean,
Yeah, it was super weird. I mean, I'm glad you were asking about that. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking about Kennedy's brains blowing all over Dealey Plaza. And I was like, yeah, that absolutely. Let's turn on this. Let's go to the Zapruder film for fucking proof.
I might not be a historian, but I do know all about that. I didn't know the fun fact about Johnson with a huge Johnson and just being a nudist in the White House, which I am honestly.
That's the least problematic part of Johnson, to be honest.
I mean, I see it as a problem.
This is
you be you, but
this is a man that sent troops.
And if you're in the 60s, 67, you're in the 60s, fuck it. Let it all hang out.
Yeah, but he's like cockface from fucking Texas and just the goddamn worst. LBJ sent troops back into Vietnam. He was the worst. But well-known fact, he used to pull his dick out a lot and piss on the White House lawn.
However, I will say part of the reason, because I was kind of going down the rabbit hole of why did it take that long for the 25th Amendment, right? Like, because you had other people, like other presidents die. Fuck. Look at William Henry Harrison, right? But why did it take so fucking long? Well, and why did it come out when it did? So what's interesting is it was proposed prior to 1967. It was proposed, at least that we know of, in 64 and then in 65. Part of
it passes.
Ratification
was a bitch.
Yeah, exactly, because the whole amendment ratification process is a whole thing. But the interesting thing about it was that Johnson was known to have health problems, and all things considered, he wasn't exactly a scrappy young man. So at least props for there being some acknowledgement of the president's health, which we will get into later, didn't always fucking happen.
I'm so fucking pumped for this. I'm so glad that I decided to do this. So, like I said, after the whole Kennedy debacle, again, you're talking to LBJ's health. All of us sat down in America and said, we best, like, deal with this shit, right? Like, we have to make this a thing, quote unquote, Ross. Like, we have to make this real. This is going to be our U.S., like, statesman fucking TED Talk. So I'm going to kind of go through what I think myself are the more crucial succession incidents that sort of establish what we call the precedent of being the president, if you will. And we're going to see that in true fucking American fashion. We just made it up as we went along. We really phoned it the fucking. Like, there's no other term for it. We just made it up as we went along. And we said, yeah, sure, that seems like it. Like, we gold bloomed as a country, doing things like, yeah, let's do this. Like, pretty much, if you will. After all.
Isn't that how we operate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
we gold bloom.
I feel like why am I not the president of the United States? Because Hello? I do that all the time.
Vote for Bethany.
That's how
Wait,
we
are
run
you
this
35?
podcast.
Are you at least 35? Because that's a legal condition.
Not yet. I got 2.5 more years.
Damn it. Well, we have time to campaign, Jessica. Time.
We do. We're gonna have to get those weird like
Bethany
sorority
2024.
signatures.
Actually, next
Oh,
month I'll have 2 years. So
Bethany 2024.
way.
Kara can be your campaign manager or your press secretary. We'll trade off, like whoever wants to be what. We'll kind of see how that goes.
We throw Jessica out when she's particularly drunk to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as Steve Bannon, right? At the last administration. I'm going to be like taking Southwest flights, wearing fringe. It's going to be weird and it's going to be fun. It's just like that classic American trope. And I would argue that it's the trope of this podcast as well. We don't need a fucking reason. We'll make one up. And we're just going to fly by the seat of our goddamn pants. And whatever we feel, the rest of you poor motherfuckers have to eat it because we're global creditors now, which is problematic. So let's jump in the old DeLorean and head back to what I call the first serious test, really and truly serious test of the executive chain of command. So old William Henry Harrison, folks, battles it out, wins the presidential title belt like WWE style, and then up and has the bad taste to kick the fucking bucket a month into office. You asshole. Nobody signed up for this. How dare you?
Oh!
Literally comes down with pneumonia after sticking it out on his own inauguration speech in cold and windy weather.
You don't get pneumonia that
Jesus.
way, I will point out, though.
Right. He was already ill.
He was
one
already
could
sick.
one could argue. He was already
Terrible.
sick.
He actually has a home 45 minutes from where I'm sitting. Yeah. The Grange in Sims, Indiana. Not that it's too much to write home about, but it's something. Town, Indiana.
He certainly doesn't have, well, he does have a presidential library, but again, also not necessarily
Actually, I don't
something.
believe it's a presidential library because they don't really start that until later, technically.
Oh, he doesn't? Just a straight up house.
It's just a straight up house, yeah, because a lot of there's only so many presidential libraries. I'm pretty sure Lincoln may be the first one too, actually, and that's in Springfield. And I don't know how they decide it. Like, are they just like the relevant fucks or is it the modern fucks? I don't know.
This is why we have Kara on our podcast.
So
Points and laughs.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, so Lincoln has his own shindig. He has like a library, but there's only 14 designated presidential libraries, and they are the modern fucks, if you want to know. So we're talking FDR, Truman, Eisenhower, Hoover, Johnson, Kennedy, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Nixon, Bush, and there will be Obama. So it is the recent fucks. However, again, I might add, I mean, there are really nice museums for other presidents. I will say, like I mentioned before, Abraham Lincoln's spot in Springfield is really decent. You can see a lot of cool shit there. So I will add that. Sorry, that was an aside.
I'm a weirdly Monticello girl myself, but
they don't want to make that a presidential library. There's too much slavery involved.
Precisely. And I think that's a good goddamn move by the United States of America, I mean, if you will.
Well, and it's interesting because Wilson, as we'll discuss later on, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, he has a legacy
wink.
Of a racial divide, and we'll get into that lightly. But it's so interesting. This year, they removed his name from Princeton, which was obviously where he served as president. So It's interesting the change that is happening 2020 and how we still actually give a shit about people 100 years ago.
You know what? I have long been a fucking advocate for that because, as y'all know, not only do I not give a fuck about that racist asshole Woodrow Wilson, I don't think he's that impressive of a fucking president, personally.
No, he's not.
But, you know, think what you will. He really shat the bed. Yeah, he hated women's suffrage, and he shat the bed on a fucking racial equality cause in the Treaty of Versailles.
And like other people we may or may not know, he shit the bed during a pandemic. But
I'm sorry, I was taking a drink. You gotta prepare me.
It's
for
just
that
a coincidence.
Shit. You gotta like give me joke face. You gotta give me funny face. Oh, I wasn't ready for that. Oh my god. Woo! So again, William Henry Harrison, like a delicate fucking flower he is, although it is 1841. I mean, a strong wind might give you like consumption or syphilis pox. I don't know what you get in 1841. Or the whooping cough. I don't know. It was like fucking sex measles or lung hump pox. Like, I don't know what you could fucking get in 1841.
Remember Courtney. Remember what she said about Polk. What did he die of? Think Oregon Trail, Bethany.
Shit.
God. I played
people die.
Oh, I'm laughing.
Dysentery.
Dysentery was a bitch. So, either way, Dudley don't do me because notoriously hard to look at in my mind. Old Harrison is out of office, dead as a doornail, within a month of claiming the presidency. And again, spaghetti-o times, guys, like, right? According to the Constitution, if the president has the bad taste to fucking kick the bucket, his powers and duties transfer to the vice president. Now,
according to the 25th Amendment.
According to the 25th Amendment, that's right. But we're going to get to that little wink, wink, nod, nod that Congress does here in a minute. Now, at that time, vice president, constitutionally, quote unquote, what we think, and there's a lot of argument into that point. We're not going to go into it. I feel like it's going to like confuse a lot of people. So I would rather just skim over it. But go ahead. Do your fucking research. Kara's right. That's not until the 25th Amendment. Vice President at the time is old John Tyler. But everybody's looking at this motherfucker going, yeah. And they're pausing for giggles here, right?
He has one living grandson, by the way. He has one living grandson. John Tyler has one living grandson in 2020.
I'm kind of glad that I'm offending him because, well, I'm not. I'm sorry, John Tyler's grandson. You're fine. I'm sure you're fine. But again, everybody's stopping, looking at John Tyler and going, but is he really the president? Like, you know,
is he fit?
In essence, is he fit? Like, but can he do the fucking job? In essence, he wasn't elected to the office of the president because, like, back in those days, only old white men could vote. So they still took democracy really seriously.
It was before they had to disenfranchise others.
Yeah, exactly. Way before that. Or fucking take a huge shit on gerrymandering. But we're not going to get into that. They still took it seriously. So they were like, oh my God, you weren't elected president, you dumb bitch. And essentially, everyone looks at Tyler and says, he lucked his way into the presidency. But Tyler is very committed to acting as the president, even though he's not really the president. And any fucking statesman's term in the day, if you will. And he certainly didn't see that way. He's wandering about in his fucking big boy pants, dressed like Prince Charles, saying shit like, I'm president now, doing the fucking like pull-ups jingle of I'm a big kid now. Like, he's all into it. Like, he insisted on being sworn in. He insisted on giving an inaugural address, which bit weird. If you just kind of, look into being president.
I don't know. I mean, if you're getting the title, I can't blame him, okay? I would be a petty bitch too in that case. I would want all the titles. Like, let's not lie. Like, if I stumble my way on getting the presidency, I'll have you know I would want that announced everywhere in every which way possible. So of all the things to criticize John Tyler for, that is not one of them. Oh, my bad.
Sorry, I'm choking on my wine. That caught me by surprise again.
I mean, I think I'm with you, Kara. I would give like an inaugural speech, like not just inaugural, but like a speech from the president, like every day, same time.
Every day.
Now.
President now.
Yeah. Dress like Prince Charles, come out there looking like the Marquis de Lafayette in your full fucking suit, like you're feeling real good about yourself, right? But Congress, Bethany, don't make me laugh. I got to get through this shit. Congress, more importantly, did kind of dispute the point where they would, but they didn't really do it in earnest, which is basically like Kara was talking about earlier, that's something that's established later. But they go ahead and give the wink and the nod, saying, oh, that's cute. You are the president, Don Tyler. Oh, my God. I fucking love it. Look at you. You look like
The
Princess Anne parading around.
The Tyler president.
The Tyler president. Nobody said
No
anything,
president,
essentially.
The Tyler president
shit.
as president.
Oh.
I just came my pants to wordplay right now. A little bit. I'm not going to lie. That was good. That was real good.
Wow.
Whew. I'm a little bit hot. I'm a little bit. Okay, that was
You're
real
having
good.
the piss twitters again.
I
That's
do.
okay.
It's just going up my spine. It's going up my spine. But yeah, essentially, this isn't going to float. I'm not going to get into why this may be weird territory. One, I'm not a constitutional scholar, and I can't argue specifically the words that are used in the Constitution to make this kind of like, maybe it's not the vice president, maybe it's going to be the head executive. Yes, there's a lot that's going on there, but we're kind of going to skip over it, because essentially whatever it means, when Congress gives this wink and a nod, like Kara said, they establish a precedent that becomes forever, like a forever thing in the way that we view presidential succession. A lot of people, though, were not pleased with the development and even gave poor old John Tyler the nickname of his ascendancy, which kind of makes me laugh because that's like some shit he said. It's real shitty.
That's a shitty reference at what Hamilton wanted to call Washington, is what that is. That's a real clever thing. So, yeah,
which, by the way, I've never
thing.
put this out there. I think Hamilton is a fucking dick. Just so all of our listeners know.
He was a slaveholding dick, I might add.
Yeah, and certainly not like an immigrant in the way please don't take Hamilton. Technically Hamilton like a fucking Swedish immigrant. Yeah, exactly. Don't listen to that fucking shit. That's not history. You can like
it's fun.
No, you can like the songs, but it is not history any more than Les Mis is.
Do not bring Les Mis, Jessica.
You just got guillotined by Bethany. She's got nothing to do with that guillotine.
You fuckers. Like, I now realize with Kara on this show, I'm not going to be able to take fucking drinks when I'm not talking. It's just like you're both going to shit all over me, and it's fucking done from here. I'm not going to be able to drink. God, I'm going to have to get shit house drunk before I get through this shit. It is what it is. Because, again, he's strutting around saying, I'm the president, I'm John Tyler, while serious statesmen are saying, like, yeah, sure, fucking princess. You are whatever you say you are. Funnily enough, this is a real dick measuring move. If you didn't want to tempt fate, or perhaps everyone was kind of low-key doubting his legitimacy, it made Tyler super paranoid, which we get kind of into this interesting little part of history there. He refused kind of point blank to name a VP. If Tyler had died, like kick the bucket, full scale, that means that at the time, and this is important, at the time, Congress would have had to elect a successor, in essence, to serve until the next election. And this is what I mean by we very much phone it in America. In a way, members of right? Like, Jesus.
That's like shitting the bed and then like letting it rest in there for a little bit bad. You know?
Which I would argue the real problem is like swimming through it like it's a goddamn waterbed. Like it's a third layer to a waterbed. You're just like living in it. Unfortunately, in a way, those members of Congress would have viewed that as a far more, at the time, legitimate way to determine who would be the next president than say just, the vice president gets it, right?
Can you imagine, though, if that precedent had like actually happened? Because, shit, fuck, that would be bad. Would be not voting for president even through the electoral college, man.
I know. And that's what I think about. Like, thank God. At least that is where,
we tempted fate way too much, though. Way too much. Tempted fate so hard on that. Like,
it's what I've been saying the whole time, Kara. We're DDTing fucking bald eagles. It's just like, woo! Whatever we feel, we're gonna tempt fate. How does America feel about this? Let's just fucking go with it. Fly by the seat of our sexy Republican pants. Not Republican in the way that not Republican in the way that the Republican Party. I mean, as in we are a republic. Sorry, I should restate that correctly.
Clarify.
Ooh. We almost got scary there for a minute. We all disavow. You hyper Christian twats, but we're not going to get into it because then I'm going to start like talking about fucking George W. Bush. He's not a cute old man, but we're not going to get into it.
You're from Texas, but we don't need to go to Bush.
Oh, that's where I always go. But you say that, but we're going to get to Bush because we're going to have a little discussion about Hagen Reagan later on, folks.
Oh, that
we have to.
Bush Senior.
Yeah.
The other
HW.
One.
Not the other one. You know, the one-term wonder, as I call him. And yet, every vice president, guys, since Tyler's day, who lucked their way ass backwards into the office of presidency, has perfunctorily sworn themselves or had themselves sworn into office. So that's why we have like Jackie Kennedy and Nazi Chanel covered in her husband's goddamn brain matter between a coffin and LBJ wearing like a shit-eating grin that he's very happy that he's become president. So that's kind of where we get that anybody as vice president that lucks their way into being president, through death or, resignation. Poor old Jerry Ford. That's shitty. I shouldn't do that to him.
That
he falls
actually
his way
was-
into a lot of shit.
That he actually had to invoke the 25th Amendment for that, actually, because there was no. What do? The president has to resign due to a scandal, or he's going to be impeached. So yeah, you have to invoke the 25th. Like, shit, I believe the only time it's been invoked. I believe.
Correct.
Is it?
I believe. That is what my belief is. We could both be wrong, but I do not think that we're wrong.
We're about to live fact check this shit, but I'm like 99.
Live a fact check, a Google. But after we do that, I'm going to need some more wine, listeners, and we're going to have to pause this. So we're going to get extra weird because I'm going to be talking.
Lied twice, and you know it because
Who
you
else?
have to cover it. Remember, and you're about to one term wonder. So the 2 times then. So you had 4.
Oh, polyp in the ass with Reagan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yep. Exactly. So
you're right. I'm going to literally talk about old intestinal polyps later. You're right.
What?
I should know that. I wrote it. Oh. His fucking 50-year-old finger at the ass didn't do well. Oh, Ronnie Reagan. We're going to get to it.
How about this? I guess the 25th Amendment being used to permanently transfer power has only been done once. However, it's been invoked in temporary situations more than once.
No, for 8 hours at a time. We're going to talk about a little bit later. And I guess permanent though. I think what counts is permanent. Because it's a permanent invocation.
President, because technically Nixon resigned, but that was the only instance that involved a president actually leaving office to his vice president. So there's that.
Old Jerry Ford fell his way. He fell his way into the goddamn presidency, just like he fell his way into the Warren Commission.
Yeah, I don't think.
I'm sorry. It's one of my favorite rhymes from the Precedents song by the Animaniacs back in the 90s. And Jerry Ford fell down a lot. It makes me laugh every time. So, Bethany, thank you for laughing at that ridiculous Animaniacs reference because I know you've seen the episode.
Make that connection. I was like,
Jerry Ford fell down a lot. Yeah, exactly. It was like, I think the rhyme before that is literally fucking Kennedy had Camelot and Jerry Ford fell down a lot. So it's truly an amazing rhyme that I really appreciate. So really quickly. No, go ahead.
I have an interjection because this will kind of talk about a trending topic. Okay. So every now and then during this 2020 or 2016 to 2020 term, you'll see 25th Amendment now trending. And I just want to talk about that because I don't think people understand that the 25th Amendment doesn't mean you actually remove the president. It means that you can, in fact, transfer some powers to said vice president. But in a lot of the instances, it has been used not to fully remove, such as been the case with the whole Reagan Bush thing in '85, such as also the case apparently when get this, you want to know some scary shit? Dick Cheney was technically handed over presidential duties for 2 hours and 15 minutes in 2007. And as well, for 2002,
he's reading goddamn elementary school. Yeah, well, he's reading elementary school kids bullshit.
Yeah, no, that was a different instance. No, this was 2002 for W had a routine medical procedure. Who knows what that means? And also in 2007 for an additional, and I quote, routine medical procedure. So that being said, isn't that some scary shit?
I call that the 2 hours in the nation in which the military industrial complex got to run amok, and all they need is 2 hours, y'all. They got fucking water towers full of napalm from back in the 70s. You never know. No, that is scary as fuck because I cannot think of anything worse than the Antichrist himself, Dick Cheney, being in charge of this fucking country.
Well, isn't his daughter a senator?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to her.
Lynn. But it's interesting though to me that every time I hear 25th Amendment now, I'm like, I'm not sure people know if it means what they think it means, because it would
No, it doesn't.
it actually would be truly unprecedented for a president to be completely removed due to physical or mental incapability. That would be a complete unprecedented thing in the
What
sense
I
of the
think
use of the amendment.
people neglect to understand about the 25th Amendment is that it has that heavy caveat of the president himself must cede power.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. If somebody was like, "Hey, Bethany, what's the 25th Amendment?" I would be like,
Oh,
I now feel I don't know.
That was a great face, though. I know you can't see it, listeners, but that was an amazing Bethany face. Like, oh, I don't know. I don't care.
See that? I don't fucking care.
It was
sorry.
like
I
her
promoted
face
Liz Cheney,
literally
by
said, "See you later, chodes."
By the way, I accidentally promoted Liz Cheney. She is actually Wyoming's only member of Congress in the House of Representatives.
And there's a hard R, isn't there?
Oh, she likes talking on her website about energy, mining, and industries. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree now, does it?
As if she fucking knows, which is adorable. As if she can balance or understand anything that she's fucking promoting. Guys, vote smart. Vote for a motherfucker that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, don't even care about politics, like the actual party, right? Like, look at what they actually say or look at what they do. I think if there's anything that history tells us, if you're in DC enough, regardless of where you came from or what intentions you have, you're just part of the goddamn swamp. I don't care what you think you're doing.
You're a fucking cog in that fucking complex.
And that
exactly.
Machine,
yeah. Well, the money's too good. It's too much goddamn fun. And I can tell you, having lobbied on behalf of fucking banking regulation,
now
we're all assholes.
As a lobbyist, I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for this fucking spinoff.
You really shouldn't. I'm good at it because I can sell a fucking Bible to a blind man, guys. So we looked at the death of a president, right? But what about the incapacitation of one? What if the president can literally not shit or get off the pot, in Texas terms, if you will? James Garfield spent 79 days between life and death just squatting and making Chester A. Arthur want to finish what the assassin had started. Yes, while fatally wounded by the assassin. Power never transferred as long as the bearded wonder, our James Garfield, held on to life. So we are working with this weird sort of power hole, if you will, in which we find everyone, including the president, sort of stuck in limbo, right, guys? So at the same time, look at that racist piece of shit, Woodrow Wilson. So Wilson went severe stroke with a year left in his second term of
Let me give a little context.
Okay, give the context.
Okay, so because I want to dive into Wilson because I did a little blurb. I really don't like the guy, but it was interesting to see the series of events before this event. Okay, so Wilson was the 28th American president. He was a two-term president. He was inaugurated and served from March 3rd of 1913 through March 4th of 1921. And even though his presidency brings up the great question on how long of the presidency was he fully aware, or how long was he in charge of his affairs? He was also known for being a racist son of a bitch. He was originally married to Ellen Wilson, who briefly served as FLOTUS before dying in August 1914, and remarried Edith Wilson, perhaps equally racist.
Understatement of the year, but go on.
So, yes, as I was saying, it sounds fitting that those two would be a match made in heaven. And Lowell Wilson discovered he really couldn't do without a woman. So he makes it about a year before he meets Miss Edith. Has his little presidential limousine parked out front, if you know what I mean. And he starts courting her. Well, she was 16 years younger than him, which, to be fair, was all the rage in those days. She was 43. He was 59. So you do the math. Anyways, what's really interesting is, so they're married. She participates actually quite early on with reading his letters, reading his correspondence. Now, it isn't until after, in early 1919, after the conclusion of, well, the Treaty of Versailles. And Edith, interestingly enough, did accompany him on his trip into Europe. And she actually had a presence there. The French public loved her. So it's this weird thing where you have Wilson, who really shits the bed with leadership in America, but really, really gets his rocks off for Europe. And it is interesting because various historians talk about his campaign motto, right, for re-election. He kept us out of war. Well, as one of his historians puts it, it's not that he kept us out of war. He kept us out of war with Mexico and what was going on south of the border. Yeah, but he did not keep us out of Europe. I don't think he had any intention to, truly. Lusitania was just a provocation. It really wasn't the main thing. Well, let's get to the memo, okay? Well, so you have her and him, and they're all blissful, happy-ass shit. Well, let's put it this way. Loved him in France. He comes back. He has his whole treaty. He gets nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, the whole 9 fucking yards, right? Well, here's the thing. The Senate is Republican. And if you can bet your sorry ass, they were not okay with the League of Nations. They were not okay with him basically dictating what was going to be American policy. And as you very well can see what is going to happen, he decides, well, maybe I should host some rallies. Maybe I should have some train stops and see my supporters and tell them what I think.
Huh.
Well, it is.
Car waves and driving around the block and
more like on a train, but across the country. Well, it is during this whole press tour, which, by the way, turns out to be a failure, that he does suffer a stroke. And it is at this point that Edith decides to keep it on the down low, which brings up the whole question of, for a commander-in-chief, does the country have a right to know the health of the president? And this will be a very important topic, and not only with what I'm saying, but what Jessica has in store. Now, so what Miss Little Sexist Pig? Yes, I said Miss Sexist Pig. She hated women's suffragists. She hated women's suffragists. She called them devil workers, and she encouraged to arrest protesters demanding the right to vote. Now, you have her, and you have her deciding after talking to Wilson's doctor. She even writes this in her 1939 autobiography, which I might note that it is importantly noted for its inaccuracies and what she leaves out more than what she includes. And I might add that she talks about this time period from 1919 until 1921 as her stewardship. Now, you might add, what do you think of Stewart? And I'm not talking Lord of the Rings Stewart here, okay? That to me is implicit.
But you are a little bit.
Yes,
you are a little bit.
A little bit, actually. And what's interesting is, even though she insists, and I'll give you a nice little quote from her in a second, which will be quite contrary to probably what happened, she would in fact monitor what correspondence he would and would not see. This stroke actually left him at least partially paralyzed on his left half. That would impact him for the remainder of his life post-presidency. And she also would take it upon herself to monitor that his cabinet was not having meetings behind the back. It is interesting that in this case, the vice president did not push for more involvement. Thomas Marshall was the vice president at this time. He could not give a rat's ass or see his asshole if he bent over in front of him. And interestingly, it was the biggest critics of what was going on is the senator, Albert Fall, who is quoted as having exclaimed, "We have a petticoat government." Now, it is a little sexist, but it may or may not be far from the truth. There is still a debate on the impact that she had for these final years, but it is interesting that she does concede that she would be who determined what he did and did not see in a timely fashion, which you could argue when you're commander-in-chief and you're in charge of the United States government, even 100 years ago, that does play a fucking impact on what happens in an administration. And what's furthermore interesting is her own quote. Give me just a moment here, folks, because this one, she said, "I myself never made a single decision regarding the disposition of public affairs. The only decision that was made was important and what was not." Well, riddle me this, folks, but that is an early art of bullshit. You're saying in the whole sentence that you did it, but you're downplaying it, okay? And she argued and furthermore argued that it was under the doctor's orders that she were to be so involved, that she were to basically guide him into involvement. And it is in 1919, Congress did actually have talks on what was going on, but unfortunately, nothing could be reached, nothing could be established, no Tyler precedent, nothing. Because again, the vice president in this case was not willing to assert himself, but neither was, interestingly, the Senate.
Wow.
So remember, folks, as we've exclaimed, the 25th Amendment, which would have addressed mental or physical incapability, was not passed until 1967, and even though Wilson somehow survived 3 years past his presidency, which is a miracle in its fucking self, because again, he was paralyzed on his complete left side. And I have a hard time feeling sorry for him, though, when you read the track record of bullshit racism, even for its time. But that being said, whether or not Edith was, how to put it, the first female president, I don't know if I buy that, but I do buy that she took an incredible amount of power away from the U.S. government. And she did it in a very covert way because two things, right? One, it established the United States really should have involvement in knowing what's going on with the presidential health. Although, again, we will see this with FDR and JFK, that would not always be the case. And number two, it set into motion the question of what do you do, right? Like, how does Congress basically assert itself? Does the vice president have to? What's going on here, right? Like, what happens when your main guy's MIA? Regardless of if he's a piece of shit or not, he's still commander-in-chief. That's a problem. But yes, regardless of who was running the show, even in 2020, his administration and its flaws and lack of leadership during a pandemic, irony, is plagued and tainted by that state of racism at Princeton itself. And that is not something that, to me at least, can be overshadowed by his health failings, because again, I cannot emphasize enough, he shit the bed when it mattered in the United States, and he touted his own glory abroad. None of those traits make a good president. Now, that being said, all of what I just told you is going to lead right in to where Jessica's going to go, because we're going to talk about a step further, bringing up the issue of what happens if a president almost dies but doesn't. What are these scenarios? When would the 25th Amendment be invoked? When does it come into play? Why? There we go.
And no shit, Kara, you fucking just let us into this. Like, it's going to be very important for as we go forward and we're talking about this. That, oh shit. Like, I wish, guys, I had the kind of, and this is why we brought fucking Kara on. She bridges that gap from shit that I might not necessarily explain, that we're going to hit that like basic boundary of bullshit and kind of go from there. So, based on Kara's description, we basically have Wilson going like full fucking Anthony Hopkins and Legends of the Fall, right, guys? And he's like writing shit like I heart blackface on a chalkboard because he was basically a fucking monster, as we've already described. And he very much is a monster. Please don't see him as some savior of the First World War. Like, that's basically it. That's basically the same bullshit that his wife is touting.
Yep.
Yeah. It's basically being put forth like that same exact racist bullshit. And again, you can go back to the very first episodes of this podcast that we did. You can hear me scream about Woodrow Wilson and including a fucking racial equality clause to the Treaty of Versailles, which is going to be a big thing as we go forward. But like, just
World War II.
Yeah, all of World War II. So we're going to glance over that. Now, like Kara said, his condition kept this deep White House weird secret, right? Like, if you will, like a Ghostbusters sort of gatekeeper and keymaster sort of situation. And it becomes absolutely ridiculous between him, his wife, and everything that is going on. But it had to be very weird, at very least, for everyone, as again, Wilson's kept in seclusion, as Kara's always pointed out to, or already pointed out to us. And again, it's a very problematic situation. Captain Hindsight strikes again in this case. However, like Kara's already stated, VP fucking Thomas Marshall wasn't going to be based on the time and everything that this country was already going through. He's not the statesman extraordinaire, if you will. He can't bring us all through the First World War. Captain Hindsight, again, like we talked about. I mean, the only thing that Marshall is famous for is interrupting a speech about the needs of the country to literally say what this country needs is a good 5-cent cigar. So that is very much
there was one more
such an ass clown.
There was one more point I forgot, and I think this actually may cross the bridge with today, so to speak. The problem with Wilson's condition and why it was not let to the public or Congress. The person treating him was a personal friend. Do you see the conflict in interest here? Because even though there is that patient confidentiality, it also meant that he would be, and the chief physician was Admiral Cary Grayson. And this was a man that had incredible loyalty to Wilson, above probably what was even right. He had, to give you context, he actually refused when Congress and the cabinet folks actually were starting to get frustrated at the threat of being fired by Edith if they were to actually meet. So several of the cabinet members at one point did get together and ask for the physician to sign a document saying that he had a disability, that he was impaired. Grayson, despite knowing at this point the severity of this stroke, in fact, the fourth and most devastating stroke he would actually have, refused to sign it. And even though Wilson, as we know, was fucked at this point, he was an active president. And you have Edith being keymaster, you have her relaying messages. So this whole patient physician confidentiality and it's superseding the national interest of the country. It begs to question with themes we've seen in 2020. At what point do we need to get somebody that is not personally involved for loyalty? At what point do you need objectivity? At what point does the country need to know the condition of the person in charge, the head honcho? At what point do we need to know now in 2020 who is in charge of our fucking nukes?
Exactly. I'm going to put it in a different kind of context as that Ronnie Jackson won in the 13th district in the state of Texas, and he was the president's personal physician. I mean, if nothing else, that is the reason he won that position as a congressman. So it's a lot of fun looking at a very conservative. It might not be the 13th. I may be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong on that number. But he wins a very conservative state's position in and of Congress because he's Ronnie Jackson, the fucking hyper Republican-esque president's fucking position. So I think it does have very... as you would put it, Kara, it echoes today like nobody's fucking business. But more importantly, what makes the horse shit that we're talking about in terms of Wilson, in terms of what makes this all interesting, significant, and or both? Why did Garfield and Wilson remain in power while the country lived its life in essence without a talking head or a de facto leader, if you will? If you want to deem it, and his non-elected wife, whatever you want to deem all of this in, it does have echoes from our past into our future. And I will say, because at the time, there was nothing that compelled the president to surrender his powers to the vice president. There's nothing that says you have to give it up. And it took a very long ass time, unfortunately, in America, way too long, arguably problematically, if you will, right, too late. Congress passes, finally, the 25th Amendment in 1965, which has to be ratified by all states 2 years later in 67. It's a little bit of something we've already talked about. And think about that. It's not until 1967 that the President of the United States could actually be declared, or in essence have it declared for you, that the president is incapacitated, i.e. you can resume power once declared by the president, what he declares, which is again problematic, that one is able to essentially do this power transfer, if you will, back on himself in some sort of like typing board, whiteboard, Morse code sort of situation, if you will. So as long as the president was able to say, powers get to come back to me, right? Then that was the case. Then the VP and a majority of the executive branch had to essentially, in that department, those department heads say, like, so cabinet guys, if you will, they can transfer power back and forth. But as long as the president is capable of saying power resides with me, the cabinet, the vice president, everything else, like, and that's kind of what Kara was talking about. They're essentially able to say, it doesn't fucking matter what you think. The president thinks that he has executive powers. They have to be referred, no matter what the condition may be. So essentially, somebody could be in a position like Wilson or Garfield, and as long as they can speak long enough to say powers do or do not reside with me, that's the fucking end of it.
That's what's, I don't know, terrifying. I mean, Bethany, what do you think? Because you've been really freaking quiet. Like,
I mean, it's unnerving to know that even if this guy is our leader and he physically, well, mentally cannot hold his own and provide Americans us safe, why would he be given the power back? Like, it does. Like, and for him to say, oh, by the way, I'm going to temporarily, but it's mine. It doesn't matter who has it right now. It's mine. And I'm like, but dude, do you hear how dumb you sound right now? Like, that's where I guess my point on that is, because it's kind of like when an old person can't accept the defeat that they need to go into a nursing home. Like, swallow your pride. You're wiping your ass with the shower curtain. You need help. Like seriously, take the fucking help.
it's fucked up and sad. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a necessary step. Like, it's like, at some point, there's a debate on, like, I don't know. I don't think a person can always think objectively if they're okay or not. Like,
how am I supposed to know I'm okay? Because in my mind, I'm fucking great.
especially
That's exactly
you're
it.
drinking.
Like, exactly. Like, oh, fuck, I'm drinking, I'm smoking. I think I'm in charge of myself. And if I was the president, like, you all fuck off. I'm the president of the goddamn United States. Like,
it's so funny you say
if
that.
I am, like, doing what I'm doing, all the executives underneath me, like, my power is my power. That's the problem.
Jessica in the office.
What's funny, Jessica? What's funny about it is like you say, "Oh, I'm drinking, I'm smoking, I'm in control," but the next day, you're like, "Fuck, I'm definitely was
It's
not."
every girl you've seen in college that's at the bar, and she's getting her, her shot on, and she's like, "I'm great." You're dancing on the fucking table, and then literally 30 minutes later, you see her passed out in the bathroom, and you might be the nicest person in the world, but she's just like, I'm fine, I can continue. That's dangerous. If you have that gal that's been, like, taking shots, that's not mentally right, and you put her in charge of the nuclear codes. That's not how it works. And it's disturbing to me that could be going on for 200 years.
That's me. That's me. For 200 years. I might have, like, I might, that's the problem. I might get real fucked up and let Alan Dulles convince me one night that, oh, Jesus Christ, the Cold War is just a series of fucking envelopes, right? And I may, like, I may fucking wake up.
You're so right. Oh my God, what did I see this before? We gotta change. We gotta fix this. We gotta make it happen.
I'm not gonna fix it. I'm Alan Dulles. I may wake up on a Tuesday and I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking good with this shit. Let's pull a George C. Scott and play Doctor Strangelove, motherfuckers. Like, let's do this shit. And like, I may wake up the next day and be like, I didn't said what? I'm sorry. Could you?
Oh, I could think of a conversation Jessica's had about imperialism that ended up very similarly.
It wasn't me.
No, I've literally. Kara's exactly right. I've literally woken up the next day, and the first thing I do after an imperialism talk that I massively motherfucking regret on a Discord, and be like, text Kara and say, okay, so
Damage
here's
control.
the fucking deal.
Damage control.
I might.
I was just joking, everyone. Ha ha ha. Just
Nothing to
relax.
see here.
There's nothing to see here. I may have taken a really weird Churchill-esque anti-imperialism stance that might have gone horribly wrong. But here's the thing, Kara.
Too far.
I don't remember the things that I said necessarily. Like, that is the problem with being
I feel like
president.
I feel like I was your lawyer and I didn't even know what to defend. Like, you didn't even like.
Okay, Rudy.
It's so true. It's so fucking true.
What do you do? What do you do if you have to defend somebody and they literally don't know? They don't know.
And I literally am going.
Just ask Adam.
You're gonna probably have to ask Adam whatever it may be that I said, which he could both horribly destruct and also kind of defend. I don't know what I said. I might have pulled a fucking Woodrow Wilson. Who fucking knows? In his stroke state, like being like, ugh, Churchill's the greatest. That's the kind of shit I do. And I'm sorry, but when you're president of the United States of America, that might be the kind of shit you do in a night. Like, I'm sorry, purely. Ugh, that's why I had the problem with the executive branch, and I have a problem with this. So, keeping all that in mind, technically, we should, by this point in quote unquote history, have a clear shot. That's not a funny joke. I said a clear shot. But yeah, I see where we're all going. As Americans, to kind of who watches the counter, if you will, while the manager takes lunch. You'd think we would
Are you taking
here we are.
30 minute or an hour? Like, for real. Are you coming back or what am I doing here?
That's the problem. The president literally does not fucking know. And based on that assumption, we're going to learn that the country learned with old Ronnie Reagan that is not the case. It's not outlined as clearly as we would like to think. So, as I hope you know, President Ronald Reagan is shot in 1981. But the 25th Amendment was not invoked in this case. So we already have a fucking problem coming into this situation.
Like, he is literally bleeding out in the hospital, like, and the 25th Amendment is not invoked. What the fuck does it take? Like, mind you,
again, we're gonna get to it.
Oh! I can't wait for this. The build up, the
build up is great, but that's the problem. Getting to it, like, what can be your fucking motivation? So again, knowing that the 25th Amendment's not invoked, we have a problem. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, again, Reagan's in surgery under anesthesia and in critical condition. Obviously, he's not able to exercise executive powers. But again, we have a further problem. So VP H.W. Bush is in my great home state of Texas, if you will, people. And he's legitimately pretending to be from there, as the Bushes tend to do. But unfortunately, this leaves the White House in a sort of state of confusion while they are shoving Bush onto a plane, if you will, trying to get him back to DC.
Okay.
So,
willing to go? He wasn't willing to go?
just like a bunch of weirdos, if you will, running around screaming, pulling their hair out, like trying to get G.H.W. Bush back to DC, if you will. But it's also kind of this culture in which one has a substitute teacher, if you will, who pops into an elementary school, but kind of also shows up 10 minutes late to class. Like, no one could handle the substitute teacher.
We need order.
Order.
No, everybody's pulling their
Then the
dicks
fire
out,
alarm goes off.
pockets out, playing fucking elephant. Like, it got serious. So this is kind of the idea that you walk into, based on the fact that there's nothing established for Reagan's end to a presidency. And so nobody's calming the fuck down, right? Like, granted, someone was like sort of about the fact that a guy that was super into Jodie Foster literally just tried to assassinate the president to impress her.
Oh my God.
But this is the free world fucking press cycle we're running with, you guys. So it's like weird, right? Like,
Right.
The actual president of the United States has been incapacitated by a guy that's super into Jodie Foster. And I think that any of us, if we know anything about Jodie Foster, being into guys is not her fucking business, right?
Was it? I know, but isn't that interesting in hindsight? It's like literally he had no chance. I mean, obviously from the beginning, but like literally no chance.
Honestly, it's more interesting than Lee Harvey Oswald, because you're exactly right. I'm sorry, guys. Somebody just flew
Flashed
by.
their tits at you?
Well, they had the stars and bars in the back of their fucking pickup truck, so I think we know where they stand.
You mean on the loser side of things?
Yeah!
Oh my God.
You know, anytime I see someone with like a giant Confederate flag on their fucking car, I think, what a fucking loser. Because I'm like, why would you be so proud of a heritage of losing? Can you imagine? Like, they might as well. The way I view it, a heritage of losing. And if you will, I mean, Nickelback's been a longer band than fucking the Confederacy was a nation. Nickelback's had a longer run than Jefferson Davis.
They've been wearing those blacksmith fucking bracelets longer than you goddamn twats have. Oh,
Jelly bracelets were a thing longer than the Confederacy.
I literally snorted on this fucking podcast. Oh my God, Karen.
And it you know, it's real fun when you're like literally in Indiana, which is no. Here's the funny thing. It's like what back ass were they like swimming up to get to Indiana? and fucking think you're part of the Confederacy. Like, my God, what a loser you must be to be part of the winning side and say, no, I would rather be a fucking loser. No. I have to be part of the losing side of racism, shitheadness, and fucking president like Jefferson Davis that would rather be in a woman's petticoat when he's escaping. My God. I'm saying, shouldn't they be okay with cross-dressing? They should.
Tara, you broke her.
Oh, it's so
Like,
amazing. Oh, fuck me.
Like,
Oh,
I don't know why
God.
people just don't talk about it like that, because that's what it is. It's like,
Oh,
there's no
I
reason you
can't
should be proud of
literally
that
see
heritage of hate, that heritage of idiocy, that heritage of losing. You can acknowledge, right, that it wasn't a necessary. You can acknowledge that you have had relatives in it without having to stand by your relatives. Can you imagine?
Important.
One of the right.
It really is. Regardless of the hatred, it is an important part of where we've gotten to in history. But you're totally right. Like, why would you I'll be like, guess what, you guys? I come from the losers.
Well, and here's my thing about it too. It's like, can you imagine being that proud of not being an evolved human being? Like, that's like saying, like, fuck yeah, man, my family didn't evolve. My family stayed right in the Confederate. Like, that tells me you're proud of not having cognitive abilities to rationalize and think maybe what they did was fucked up. Maybe what they did in seceding wasn't where we should evolve to. But then again, I digress. We have a bunch of fucking losers.
Oh my God! You have to stop! You have to stop! You dumb cunt! Oh, I'm crying! Oh.
Mark's gonna cry when he.
Like, I know a lot of people are gonna cry when they fucking hear this shit. Oh,
broke her.
Oh my God! The worst part is I literally have gotten fucking. I've gotten like scholarships from the Daughters of the Confederacy for obvious reasons, and I'm laughing at everything you both have to say about it. Oh, you twats! You're the worst. You're the fucking worst.
Why am I in the twat category?
I'm sorry to say, but why do they have a scholarship program?
Oh God!
Thank you.
What were they expecting you to do?
Would you
I hope
stop
it didn't
trying
involve
to
a
pin
white
me
hood?
down on where I came from? Oh my God. I'm crying.
West Texas.
You stupid bitch. Oh, I'm crying. Quit trying to pin me down like for fucking lobbyist groups and what I went to school on for free, you asshole. So, like,
trust me, it doesn't.
Oh God, I don't even know where we are in a fucking script, you bitch.
Oh. Jodie Foster. We just finished talking about.
Remember, he was shooting his shit because of Jodie Foster, which is very strange in Taxi Driver.
God, audience, I'm flipping her off so hard. So Reagan, stop it. Pfizer's hold like a flailing, set yourself on fire, masturbate in front of other people, chaotic motherfucking like sort of meeting in the Situation Room, going right after Reagan is shot, screaming, "What the fuck do we do?" Essentially, right? So that everybody's freaking out. Yeah, like at one another. Basically, the way I've been screaming at the two of you being fucking twats on the stars and bars, like screaming, "What do we fucking do?" That's the same thing all these twats have been doing. Now, we get to ask one another, for the first time, really, who has been born in Texas and is on a plane on the way back to the White House, but not really born in Texas. Cue the well-known and
furtherist.
well.
Are you a Bush further? I'm gonna pull the birth
Jesus
certificate out.
Christ! I want to drown you both like fucking cats, just in a sack in a river.
In this category, I am staying silent. I'm listening to the story. It's all Kara.
I am listening. I'm just making commentary, like a riff track, you know.
Yeah. You fucking twat. But again, Q, our very well known, very well recognized VP. He's not showing up recently. He's off down in Texas, pretending like he's down from Texas. He's trying to do, I don't know, whatever shit he's trying to do.
You want to know what he was doing? I'll tell you what he was doing. He was actually, ironically, at the fucking hotel where Kennedy spent his last night alive. Thought that's a fun little parallel for you.
Are you kidding?
Nope. That's where
I wish he was
that's where
doing
Bushy was.
anything else. Jesus fucking Christ, Kara. I'm never going to get through a story forevermore. Now, again, I'm never going to get through
Was that a Taylor Swift reference? Or an Emily Dickinson reference?
Of course he was. Of course he was. Jesus. I'm crying so hard. You ass clowns listening to this ridiculous fucking history podcast. I apologize. I don't even know where the fuck we're at. I'm looking at a nonsensical script. So again, we've got the VP pretending he was born in Texas. So he's on a plane back to the White House. So again, we have to pop back. We're going to cue well-known and jeered at Secretary of State Alexander Haig. Now, Haig famously grabs the reins, if you will, you guys, and runs around gleefully in the Situation Room saying, quote, "The helm is right here." And that means right in this chair, right now, where he was sitting, essentially, constitutionally, until the vice president gets here. He wanted to make everybody sure he was like the guy in charge, right? But as we're going to learn, he was very, very wrong, Bethany.
I could just be like, I'm sitting in the chair, so I'm the president.
I'm the president now. I'm the captain of the ship.
Oh, we're going to find out. That is what Haig tries to do. And Bethany, it will be the end of his fucking career.
Good.
Nope.
Exactly. Well, in essence, it's going to be the end of his career. It takes a little bit of time, but it is kind of. Boy, would Haig's face be fucking red, because you think the Secretary of State might have given the old chain of command, if you will, a cursory glance. At the time, National Security Advisor Richard Allen later wrote that despite knowing that there were constitutionally two other people, so you've got the Speaker of the House and you've got the President pro tempore of the Senate, they're in fact ahead of the Secretary of State in the line of succession if the president falls. But no one at the time in the room has the balls to say, "Fuck you, bro. You're just wrong," right? Or if they were anything like me, they thought, like, please go announce this to the press, you fucking dumb cocksucker. Please, please go tell us all.
Dare you?
Like, go tell it on the mountain kind of shit. Go tell it on the mountain.
Which I don't see how, if you're in that situation room, you can't tell Peg to be like, oh yes, definitely go announce that to the press, you dumb fucking shit, like all day long. Please do announce that to people. And he was very, very determined, guys, that he was correct in this, which I'm sure, again, post hashtag Captain Hindsight, that somebody would have said something to remind him of the correct order of ascension. Because what does Haig do? Very famously, called a fly by the seat of your pants sort of press conference, and announced post situation room publicly and to the press that he was the captain now. Like, very, very fucking Captain Phillips. He's the captain now, right? And he famously stood before the media and their dogs to announce that I am in control here. And that's going to be
I thought you
huge
said cunt control.
Well, he might as well have, because it's going to be a really big point that we study in physics in and of it, or civics in and of itself.
Physics or civics?
It came out, but civics in and of itself, because it's a really interesting past little period in which, like, he just chokes out these words, and Haig famously goes down in history as the one Secretary of State in this country that literally couldn't pass an elementary school civics quiz. So, if you will, if he'd have been anyone worth his salt, he would have known what the natural order of ascension was if a president and a vice president were incapacitated.
Also,
and
it
it
makes
goes
Dan
down
Quayle.
as
Quayle look like a fucking rock god genius.
Oh, Dan Quayle.
Give me those potatoes.
I didn't even get to that. In this horse shit. But you were exactly right. I should have.
You saw the natural digression.
I think you can. At this point, I saw it as a teachable moment with Haig as why civics is important to all students. But Dan fucking Quill, Kara, that was like a deep cut on this shit. Oh my God. I'm not even going to get to it, folks. I'm not even going to get to it. It's not even in my narrative, but it probably should have been, and it would have been a hell of a lot of fun. I'm disappointed in myself.
Barry would have wanted
it. You're such an amazing bitch. Like, as bitchy as Bethany is, the two of you together, united against me at a podcast front, is beyond anything I can fucking deal with.
And I think our sign off should be that Courtney Love quote, right? Like, you find 3 bitches in your town and you make a band. But it's a podcast.
I think it should be. It is so good. It is so good between the 3 of you, the 2 of you. Ugh! But let's go ahead as we sign out on this fucking podcast. Let's look this situation a little more closely in the face, as you will. because it's going to be something that we brush up against a lot in this country and in this current century. And while it's taken more than 200 plus years, we do have a definitive answer, if you will, in this situation going, oh, fuck, what now? And the answer, unfortunately, was a resounding who the hell knows, because in this situation with Reagan, if Haig wasn't in charge, who the fuck was? For a short period of time, i.e. the time it takes to fly from fucking Texas to DC, no one is in charge. Not even the VP, because more or less the speaker of the the Speaker of the House and also the President of the Senate pro tempore, no one's in charge, because no one gave the power of the office of the president even to Bush, if you will.
My God. My mind. Holy shit.
One term wonder.
One term wonder. But if you want to hear why, and it's a really interesting reason, and it's not particularly comforting, I will say, power was never officially transferred to anyone, pure and simple, because constitutional smarty pants would argue that Reagan's aides were sort of afraid to transfer power to the VP, if you will. And why is that? It's speculated that this transfer of power would cause a sense of public panic. Essentially, everyone's like running through the streets with their dicks out of their pants, right? Screaming, the president isn't going to make it. Is it a commie plot? Is this like the reason that New Coke exists? Like, it turns into this. We don't want to. You're making me laugh, you dumb bitch, because of the New Coke reference. And I'm so sorry for making it. Because we're old and Kara's not. So I doubt she even fucking knows what New Coke is.
You can suck my dick. Just kidding, I don't have them. But if I did.
Oh, saying I would deep throat the fuck out of it. So
if
it's
I
like
did,
this
would be a
basic
situation. Take that as you will.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the fucking worst. So like it's basically this 80s-esque sort of panic that they're looking at, right? So essentially the situation was handled according to the general belief that Americans are too stupid to handle this in this sort of me generation situation that's going on in the 80s. And if we do nothing, they're all gonna like stay chill and feel that Star Wars sort of safe, if you will. 80s safe, which is bullshit. You know, as opposed to actually having someone at the helm with a transfer of presidential powers to the office of vice president. That is the way that it was taken. Now, 1985, we have talked about this already in this podcast. Bush did become the first acting president during a much less interesting run through the streets, if you will, like Willie out sort of time, like dick out run through the streets. Reagan needed surgery to remove, I don't know, like an ass polyp.
Colon. It was a colon polyp, but yeah.
Oh, I'm not wrong. And Reagan actually signed his presidential powers over to Bush for a grand total of like 7 or 8 fucking hours, right? On July 13th, 1985.
Can you imagine HW, right? Like, really? This is when I get the power. For fucking
Do you know how much he masturbated in the Oval Office during that time?
Oh my God, it's
no, Barbara wouldn't have allowed.
flute.
I don't know. She might have blown him, but they are a boring couple, so I fucking doubt it. I just feel like he was coming a lot in the White House to himself during that time without Barbara. Because he was like, I'm finally president.
Okay, but his novelty socks were the shit.
Oh, I just snorted wine up my nose, you dumb bitch. Like, why would you say that right then?
I mean, you're not wrong.
No, I know, but I was drinking wine and I snorted it up my fucking nose. Oh, you're the worst. So, Grant said, we've already said on 85, we assume that Reagan, and we know that Reagan comes out of ass surgery. Just kidding, guys. It was a polyp in the intestines, but not really kidding because it was ass surgery and it's kind of laughable. Reagan simply reclaims his duties while Bush and like he coveted him, right? Until 1989. So Bush is like sitting, doing like the finger thing, like he's fucking Sherlock Holmes and being weird. Even beside the fact that Reagan had his ass polyps, and that's what we're going to call them. And I have no shame about it. So it's not till 89 that we have Bush become the president. And he is that, as I've said before, that one-term wonder. But essentially what I want to look at with this entire like bullshit story, as much fun as we've had laughing and being ass clowns. So what's the
ass
answer?
clowns, ass surgery.
Tara, don't set me off again, you fucking bitch. So what's the answer? Even now, 2020, guys, like, we don't really have a clear one. So, in essence, how many licks does it take to get to the center of the presidential Tootsie Pop, if you will? Like, the world may never know, both of you. Although in theory and in true American tradition, we have the vaguest of ideas.
Yeah.
Because that's it. And it's kind of disconcerting that we don't fucking know.
No. That's fucked up. It's scary.
It is.
Walter
It
Reed.
really is.
Walter Reed.
Oh, you fucking bitch. Oh, that is true, though. We don't really know. And we don't get to know because it could all be dependent on who is president, how they interpret things.
And why we keep electing senior citizens and becoming the new Soviet Union in that regard in the fucking 70s.
Which will always is always going to be interesting to me, and I think it's got a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of backstory on that idea of senior citizen. To be fair, they seem to be the only folk that survived the presidency, if you will, in the basic sense. So it's really interesting to me because I know it came up. It came up with Trump getting COVID. Nobody gave a fuck and probably hoped he fucking died. But the point is, we're not here to talk about politics. It does raise an interesting question when it comes to succession of power. And that was a very big question and kind of something we wanted to go into, because the reality is, you might think it's one thing, it might be another thing. It just depends on the day who tries to interpret something one way or the other constitutionally. So it should give you a little bit of hope, and it should unsettle you a little bit.
Yeah, just a bit.
It is disturbing.
You fucking think? Yeah. Who's the president? No one knows. And that being said, it was a weird shit. And between Karen and Bethany, I have laughed my fucking ass off and not been able to present a story in a sensible fashion. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun for me. But let's all start. Wait, let's plug the fucking podcast first. So you can go to bodycounthistory.com. You can find the show there. We're going to make a link tree that we post to all the socials that will be very easy for everyone to find and to go literally wherever it is that you listen to podcasts and hear us. You can also follow the show on Body Count History Pod on both Twitter and Instagram. And these two lovely ladies are fixing our fucking Facebook problem.
It's the same. Body Count History Pod. That's what it is. That is what it is on Facebook.
All right. So that's what it is on Facebook. You've heard it from Bethany live. I couldn't tell you. I don't even know how Facebook works anymore. So, Kara, go ahead and plug yourself and plug Time Travel Talks.
Okay, so you can find me, Cara DiDemizio, on Twitter or on Instagram. I really use Twitter more than any of the other socials, but I also run this monthly or semi-monthly Twitter discussion, and we actually, in more of a serious term, talk about rotating history topics. But the end all goal is to get people that both casually enjoy history and professionally enjoy history in the same conversation. So that's my hope for that, and I want to continue that going into 2021. We did espionage most recently in Ptolemaic Egypt for an obscure one a couple months ago. So looking forward to 2021, and we're hoping to talk about alcohol soon, which I know all y'all listeners and everyone involved here will enjoy. So you can follow Time Travel Talks on Twitter, where the Twitter discussions do happen, at Time Travel Talks at Twitter. And then you can also find them on me on, and my co-founder in that regard, Leah, on Instagram at Time Travel Talks. We also have a Facebook page, but very similar to what we're doing with Body Count, we are resuscitating it. So we're currently in the process of giving CPR. But yes, and then Bethany, go ahead and plug your Twitter and your Insta.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Bethany Skelton 5. That's the number 5. I do have a Facebook, Bethany Rose Skelton. You can find me there, but like I said, most of the action you can get from me is on Twitter and Instagram.
What kind of action is it we get?
Huh?
What is the action we get?
Oh, all front. Full frontal.
I'm just saying, when you put it like...
It's full frontal. I give it all, okay? I give it away for free.
I didn't know we're talking
Dick and balls. Dick and balls. Right in your history face.
And Jessica, where can people find you?
Jessica B. Manor at Twitter.
Oh, look at you, Kara. You ass clown. Can I just say, though, you don't have to be, I'm going to stop you both. You don't have to be super fucking serious to be into Time Travel Talks. You can go, you can enjoy it, whether you're an amateur fucking armchair historian, like a lot of our listeners are, or a professional one. It's just a lot of fun. It's a very like
It's a nice
supportive
community. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really good because I think a lot of people get put off of it, and they shouldn't because they think it's you can
Yeah.
only do your professional.
And use
But
the
that's not
hashtag, yeah. And if you search by the hashtag, you can find some of our most recent like questions and history huddles and shit. And it's on there, so you can still participate if you look it up and find it. So we'll be
And
having
it's
more.
a lot of things. It's a lot of things if you listen to this back catalog that are very much going to plug into those
Oh,
kind of
overlap for
situations in
sure.
the story. 100%. So go and check it out. It's not shitty. That being said, you can also follow me at Jessica B. Manor, like the house, not the behavior, MANOR, on Twitter and Instagram. So I think we're done plugging, guys. I think this was a really fun rando episode that we're not going to have a lot of time for in the next few months because we have a lot of shit coming up. So it was good to have fun and to cry and to laugh and to be weird. So that being said, does anybody else have anything to plug tonight?
Nope.
Oh, well.
Patreon.
Two of you don't have fucking shit to say in the course of this goddamn podcast. That's gotta be a first. That being said, we appreciate everyone listening. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna come at you at some bullshit like whatever we do on Christmas. You're gonna enjoy it, and then we're gonna pick back up seriously with Nancy Wake after Christmas, guys. So we'll be back at you with that third part. But everyone, have a fantastic Christmas, and we'll be weird at you later. Yeah.
Bye.
Tell everybody a happy Christmas.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah.
All of the
That-
above.
I can deal with that, you assholes. Bye.